So what's going to happen now that the Super Bowl is over and these short-term rentals either did or didn't rent? We've been talking about this for a little bit, but stats are coming out this week that shows that only 51 to 52% of Airbnbs or short-term rentals here in the Valley rented, and I mean that's pretty wild when you think of all the people that are probably held. They say that there's 22,000 plus rentals on the short-term side here in the Valley. So if we've got, call it 11,000 that didn't rent for this peak season, for this peak market, what's going to happen? And as we get back from the video that I posted last week when it got into Airbnb and showing, hey, the reduced rates that people were looking for, how is that going to affect those that own long-term rentals? And I think right now there's still a lot of data. Like even the information that I'm talking about right now is from AirDNA, and honestly, I don't know how to qualify a lot of the data that I see or where I hear it from when it comes to the short-term side and honestly even the rental side, other than what we see personally, because it's tough to know where that information is coming from. But when it comes to this side of it, I walked through my neighborhood last weekend with my wife. We take walks, and we were walking on Sunday morning, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, right? And we were walking through the neighborhood, and there's a couple of properties. We live in an area that has quite a few properties that are used for short-term rentals, and there's a couple of them that are just beasts. Like they command like crazy numbers. And the ones that we saw, the two that we walked past, assuming they were going to be party pads for the weekend, weren't even rented. It was a ghost town, and it was like, oh my gosh, we're talking about it for a minute, talking through it, and going, wow, like they didn't rent for Super Bowl, like, and again, we don't know their situation, but you'd think that that's the biggest play, that's the biggest month. The biggest opportunity. It shows, I think somewhere I saw that Rihanna had rented a space, paid like $85,000 a night or something like that, ended up spending like $500,000 on this rental, and it looked really cool. But it's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that person did well. But for the rest, what do they do now? Like, what's the next steps? Do those properties, call it 11,000 that didn't make the money, are they now going to go on the market to sell? Are they going to pivot and go to the long-term market? I know in the long-term market, we saw a huge uptick just in our inventory because we put everything, we don't want people to go vacant in December, in November. We don't want those months to be vacant. We'd rather the vacancy come at the beginning of the year when things pick up and things start getting hotter. So our leases, we write that way. And, we have a lot of vacancy that are coming up. So a lot of people are evaluating their options. More vacancy, arguably more vacancy than we've seen in the last few years, which means we have more properties coming on market, which at the same time, we have a ton of leads coming in from, what's happening. So I've got data that shows, hey, what have we seen over time? And right now we have this huge spike of interested parties and showings on these properties. And I think legit, I don't have enough data to show that this is just a huge spike, just a difference in years compared to those in the past. And we'll see what happens with that. That'll be something for us to be paying attention to right now, because as these short-term rentals now hit the market or whatever ends up happening, that's something that we need to be paying attention to. That could reduce our rental rates. It could take longer times to rent. From my standpoint, we pay per day, right? We pay to play when it comes to renting out these rental properties. Some of the better sites that we market properties, we have to pay per day now, right? So we don't want them up on on that page very long, because the bill that we get at the end of the day makes it significantly tougher to be profitable on the leasing side, which, leasing for us is almost a loss leader. I joke with you clients that know about that, but hey, you want to see the numbers behind the scenes, the expenses of what it takes to get them actually leased the way that we do now is different. So if that extends out further, that's going to be something that we've got to be paying attention to, right? That's something that we've got to keep a pulse on. The resale market picked up this week. Again, the last couple of weeks, we've had some friends in the industry that have come by that have also shared what's happening on their front, whether it be title, whether it be mortgage, whether it be home inspection. We're seeing that things are picking up across the front, which we see in the numbers, which is great. Just about every listing that we have on the market right now is getting looks and getting threats of offers. So that's a good thing. But again, to me, the lowest hanging fruit for us, the biggest piece that's shifted is these short-term rentals and what's going to happen in that market over the next 6 months. I think it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how that affects the real estate market as a whole, considering there could be we're positioning ourselves to be able to assist those that have the short-term rentals that want to turn them into long-term rentals. My experience with short-term rentals, my wife and I bought one in 2019. We've seen the ebb and flows of what that's looked like, and we love it. However, when I bought it, my motivation wasn't to buy it as an Airbnb. It wasn't, to buy it as a short-term rental. That wasn't the play at all. The play was to have a place that we could share, that we could, spend with the family, that we could, invest in ourselves and be able to recharge and go and do what we want to do, not have to worry about it. Once we got up there, I start getting all freaked out with vacancy, you know how that can go. And you got a place that's vacant, I'd rather just have somebody use it and somebody be able to benefit from it. So going in at that direction still benefits the family no matter what of buying the property. Now think about the other side of it. So the numbers make sense, right? Buying it as an investment property, that's a different level of stress. That's a different level of, hey, are these numbers making sense? And when you really look at the numbers, at the end of the day, like if we didn't use the space, it wouldn't be worth it. I joke with people about that, and they probably think, oh, you're just a jerk. You got a place, just be happy with it. And it's like, no. When you look at the numbers and the stress that it causes for the amount of work on the short-term side is entirely different than the long-term side. So if someone bought 4 years ago, 5 years ago, they're probably in a pretty good position to swap that over to a long-term rental versus not. Now, if they bought after that, right? Rates went up, prices went up. Well, prices went up. So as prices went up, who knows what their spread's going to look like when the opportunity comes up as to whether or not they can rent it on the long term. So, they might be more inclined to selling. So it's an interesting play right now. We're going to see a lot that happens in the market over the next couple of months. I'll update regularly in these updates and just let you know, because I think that's a big piece. If 11,000 houses hit the market on the sales side, there would definitely be some price compression, because there would be those that wouldn't be able to sell that have to, that then would bring that market further down. I think there'd be more opportunities for buyers, of course. But again, interest rates went up this last week, which from week to week, it's like, oh my goodness, the week before rates were lower. So this week rates bumped up a little bit. So the conversations we're having with, buyers agents are saying, hey, can you pay more on closing costs? And, now it's even more, important that that's able to happen. So again, I'm rambling here. I'm just going on what's happening this week in the market. But I think this short-term thing has got me thinking a lot. And we've been thinking about this for a while, and now it's here. And it's like, okay, how's this going to play out? How's it going to work? We're positioned to be able to help those people, in a very unique way, which is fun. But let's see how it affects this market and what happens moving forward. Nothing to fear yet. So fingers crossed, and let's see what happens. I'm not about the doom and gloom in this market. I definitely feel positive stuff moving forward on just about every front, just based on, the amount of jobs and people moving here. Still a great place to be, but this is just another little blip and something that we need to figure out that we've never seen before. Hey, appreciate you watching. I hope you have an amazing weekend. It's a long weekend, so that's going to be fun. Hope you get out and do something fun, something that fills your cup and brings you a little bit of happiness and joy. Hey, make it an amazing weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. See ya.